Welcome everyone to today's webinar. It is called the 6 core metrics of site search. This is the second webinar in our 3-part webinar series on site search. So be sure to watch our last one if you haven't, and register for our next one that's on personalization. So hello, my name is Davila Thompson. I am a sales engineer at Squiz based out of Sydney, Australia. I have been working in search for the last 5 years, focusing on implementing new search solutions and optimizing current ones. So I'm excited to walk you through these 6 core metrics you need to track for a high-performing site search. So we'll get started. I'll get started by getting you to think on how you probably spend an awful lot of money bringing people to your site with advertising and SEO. But when they get there, what happens? So we know that about 43% of people will go right to search. Now, what happens when they type in their search terms? Are you tracking what is happening when they use the search? Site search analytics does a better job of depicting and helping you understand users' intentions than any other form of web analytics. So it's pretty important. Something else I want you to remember as we continue today, improving your site search is a really low risk and high win project. And it's much lower cost and low risk than any other web project you could do, which might provide an equal uplift in user experience and conversion rates. And this last piece I think is particularly important because generally speaking, in higher education institutions across the globe, they're now facing some strong headwinds, right? Not only is it getting hard to acquire students, but often budgets for IT and web projects are down year on year. But delivering the kind of search experience which drives great return on investment doesn't happen by accident. And that's the focus of this webinar. It's going to focus on the key metrics you need to be tracking in Google Analytics to understand whether the tweaks you make to your site search are improving search performance or not. Because if you're making changes, you want to be sure that they're changing things in the right direction for you and your organization. We have customers that have seen very real financial outcomes from improving their site search within just a few months of implementation. And we will go through one of those customers today. The final metric we look at, goal value, is a big one. And you can use it to understand the financial impact of the changes you make to your search and your site. I'm also going to stress that this is all tech agnostic. So our technology is great at Squiz, and we'd love for you to use it, but you can apply this same thinking to any search technology that you use. Now here's two questions I want you to ask yourself as we jump into these metrics. One is, can I be sure someone has found what they're looking for? And is my search converting? For starters, a good search must be easy to find, and this is where we come with our first metric. If your search is not easy to find, then adoption will be low and you won't make the giant gains in user experience that you're looking for. So this is where percentage of sessions with search is very important. And this is where it comes to the quality of your site search. And this is definitely one of the most telling metrics that we have. To better understand it, think about your own behavior. So if you go to a big information-heavy website, and there is a great search that always gives you what you need, you will use that search again and again. But there are some websites that you frequently visit which have a terrible site search. And if you know this is the case, then what do you do when you go there? You get into the habit of browsing instead. And because this metric is measuring sessions, it will include returning users as well. So if they have been to your site before and the site search experience was no good, they're just going to browse. So if you make some changes to your site search, for example, you coach your search results so the relevance of search results increases, it's likely that we will see this percentage of sessions with search increase as well, because people are finding your search more useful now. And we do want this metric to be increasing. Why? Well, if you watched our first webinar, which if you haven't, go check it out later on, you will know that site searchers tend to convert at a rate 2 to 3 times greater than non-search users. So if you increase the percentage of sessions using search, you will have a high-performing site search, and you will see the conversion rate go up, which is what you want. But the reverse is also true, so make sure you make note of that. If you do make some changes to your search and the percentage of sessions with the search goes down, then that probably means the changes you made have negatively impacted the search results and the search experience as a whole. This metric also tells you how easy your search is to find. So if you're not following the best practice and you have made your search hard to find, for example, by not making your search obvious with a nice big search bar, it's possible that people simply aren't seeing your search bar and therefore aren't using it. So have a look at your own search. Think about if the search bar is obvious, and also are the results actually, are they relevant that you're providing? And if they're not relevant, then you might be ultimately training repeat users to browse instead of search. There is another really important reason that you want to have a high percentage of sessions with search. Site search tells you user intent, and you want to be getting as much of that feedback as possible. When the customer is coming to your site and typing in the keyword and telling you what they're looking for, this is a really important thing for you to track. You can learn so many things from this element of your site search. It tells you how effective your navigation is. For example, if certain keywords appear frequently in your site search, that might suggest it's difficult to find them through your navigation. It also tells you how effective your call to actions are. So another example, if people are searching for things which have a call to action on your homepage, the chances are good that those call to actions are not catching people's eyes. And it also tells you how effective your landing pages are. If you're sending people to a landing page, but they're going to the search for something which was available on that landing page, then it means your landing page is also not working. But if a really low percentage of sessions are using search, you're not going to be getting any of this data. So if you're looking at your own Google Analytics, the format you want to be looking at is, it's a form where it's going to be called percentage of sessions that used internal search, which is equal to sessions with search divided by total sessions. Our next metric is about your search exits. So a search exit is something when someone going to your search page and they perform a search and then immediately they leave the site. This user did not find what they were looking for, so they left. Search exits represent people who are dissatisfied with your search. And if you implement Google Analytics properly, you can see the exact search terms which are leading to a search exit. There's a number of reasons why this is really important, but I think the most interesting one is that you could potentially boost your conversion rates by understanding what search terms are leading to a search exit and how you can prevent that. So for example, I have some numbers here. You might know that your conversion rate on your site overall is about 2%, but for search users, it's 3% chance that they convert. It's possible that your 3% conversion rate using search could actually be higher. It could be 5% or even 10%. And it's possible that certain search terms, which are important to prospective students who are researching study options, have really bad search results. So the conversion rate is dragged down to 3%. If you look at the search terms which are leading to higher than normal search exits, you can possibly boost your conversion rates. For example, any searches from your undergrad audience relating to accounting might convert at 5%. Whereas anything related to chemistry converts through search at 10%. That's interesting, right? What's going on here? Well, you might see that there are many more search exits from the search terms relating to accounting, which is dragging that conversion rate far lower. And that's a really interesting data point, and you can do some investigative work to find out what is causing those search exits, because it might then bring up your conversion rate going forward if you fix them. So how do you start to fix these issues and create fewer search exits? Well, we have a few different ways, and one of them is that you can coach your search results, and another is you can include related searches. So no matter what search engine tool you use, there should be an easy manual way to check and then coach your search results to improve your relevance. You can do it very simply right now. You can look at the search results for your most common or highest value search terms. Are the search results relevant to the search term? How old is the content? Is it still current and accurate? If the content is out of date or the search results are relevant to the search term, that should concern you. Or if they're not, if they are irrelevant to the search term, that should concern you. If they can find the information that they're looking for on another institution's website faster, they may just give up looking for the content on your site and enroll there instead. And that's not what you want. This is just a screenshot from a university search, which I won't name, but these are the search results for the term accounting. Now, what are people searching for when they type accounting into the search bar? What is their intent? Do they want the forms repository? Are they interested in aviation, that last result? Probably not. So when you identify that your search results are old or aren't relevant, there should be an easy way to solve this in your search tool. Ideally, you should be able to do 3 different things. 1, get rid of specific search results immediately for a search term. You should be able to say, make this page show up first whenever anyone searches X to promote individual content. And finally, you should also be able to generally tune your overall search results ranking algorithm by saying to your search tool, when people use this search term, show results that are like this, and this will increase the overall search relevance. So how do we do this at Squiz? Well, for Funnelback users on the call, you should be aware of the tuning feature. Here's a little demo of what it looks like. If you're not doing this, now is a really good time to start. And if you're not sure, feel free to reach out to myself or your account manager. Each search engine will have some way you can train the search results. And the important thing is that you are constantly checking your results and you know how to tweak them in whatever search tool you use. This is something that you should be doing at the beginning of the project and revisit from time to time. And there's another way to reduce search exits, and this is through related searches. At Squiz, we call this contextual navigation in our Funnelback search. Anyone who uses Google will be familiar with it. Essentially, you generate a list of related searches to the user search term to help them get close to what it is they're looking for. If the user hasn't found what they were searching for on their first search, related searches are an easy way to keep them on the site without them having to think of other search terms to perform another search with. Any good search engine should allow you to do this. Funnelback users, you can actually switch it on out of the box. And those related search terms are generated automatically based on your search index. So there isn't much work for you to do. It's also important that you frequently check and investigate your unanswered keywords. These are essentially search terms that are not returning fully matching results or and possibly just returning a no results page. So this would be a dead end for these users, which most commonly leads to search exits. Your options here are to, one, provide a very useful no results page that entices the search user to try again. Two, you can create synonyms for these terms so that they lead to other relevant content that's already on your site. Or three, use it as a reason to start a new project in your organization and provide the content these search users are looking for if the content doesn't already exist. So our next metric is about search refinements. This figure reflects the number of times a user searched again immediately after performing a search. And in Google Analytics, we can track the search terms which are leading to the highest rate of search refinements. We don't want this number to be too high. If users are searching again immediately after they performed a search, it might mean that the search results were not good enough in the first place for them. And this is a problem, because search users are fickle. They're looking for something specific. And if you're not giving it to them immediately, research suggests that 55% of them are going to abandon your site and not undertake the conversion action you want them to. Just like in our previous example, it's possible that you could boost your conversion rate by decreasing your search refinements. So let's use the same example as we did before, where certain subjects are converting on your site through search better than other subjects like accounting versus chemistry. So any searches from your undergrad audience relating to accounting might convert at 5%, or anything related to chemistry converts at 10%. Well, it might be that the search from accounting is providing first page search results around things like the internal accounting department. That means that when a potential undergrad comes to your site and searches accounting, they're confronted with these irrelevant search results. They want to see courses or programs related to accounting. And while some might go on to refine their search, a certain percentage of them drop off and leave immediately. Search terms for chemistry might be more immediately relevant to the prospective undergrad student, and that's why they're converting higher. So how do search refinements help us here? You can have a look at which terms are leading to the highest rate of search refinements, and then coach your search results to fix that issue. Look at how it changes over time to ensure that the search refinements number actually comes down over time as you coach these results. And there's another less obvious way to reduce search refinements. You can make better use of search filters. Different people want different things from the same query. Filters, at Squiz, we call them facets as well, give users the power to think about give them the power to find exactly what they want. So think about it for a second. It does make sense. Somebody who searches for accounting might be interested in either undergraduate or postgraduate study. Or they might want someone from the account department to ask a specific question. If you give them filters, they can quickly find what they're looking for. If not, You make them wade through irrelevant content or perform a search refinement and then leave your site. This is just a screen grab of our higher education template, which includes tabs right above the search results to organize the different content types and filters on the left side for more fine granular details to filter the results by, giving the search users a lot of options without them having to refine their search through the search query. One of our customers, British Columbia Institute of Technology, do a really good job of this. BCIT. It allows people to find the content which matters most to them by filtering by an array of different categories. Metric 4 is a complex one. Pages with high search volumes are interesting in that they can be a good thing or a bad thing. Either way, it's important that you're capturing these pages with higher searches. So they could be seen as a good thing in that there is enough interest to search for more content. So you've generated something and then they want to keep looking on your website for more information. Or it can be a bad thing if they haven't found what they're looking for on this page. In general, this metric can help identify which pages are lacking in content or cross-linking. The example you're looking at is what people search for on squiz.net when they're on the funnelback product page. Most searches are for pricing. So, the marketing team could consider to link pricing from their product pages. Before I jump into our next metric, number 5, I want you to think about this scenario. So imagine for a second you are a prospective student. You know, generally speaking, what you want to study, but you haven't made up your mind on which course or exactly where you want to study. So the chances are you want to consume quite a lot of information, such as the courses that are on offer, career paths after the study, the campus life type information, fees and scholarship information, right? Now imagine you are staff at that same university. You just want to find a policy document or a phone number or of a colleague. That's it. And then you're satisfied with what you found in the search. These different behaviors impact our 5th metric, search depth, which refers to the number of pages viewed after performing a search and the amount of time users spend on your site after performing a search. Generally speaking, Google says that this is a metric that we want to bring down. But take this with a grain of salt. Think about the entire student journey with the different behaviors between different website users, like prospective students versus staff versus existing students. Quickly, you might see that blunt rule of thumb that we want this metric to go down doesn't work for all of your audiences. Once again, please take this with a grain of salt. What we're told is that if the time on your site increases, it's objectively good because it's an indicator of user engagement, which will lead to a conversion. But I would also suggest it depends on what type of site you have. This definitely 100% makes sense for an e-commerce site or a content site like BuzzFeed, but it also makes sense in the early student acquisition cycle where you're presenting options, inspiring them with alumni stories and promoting all of that type of content. So keep in mind that if you're an existing student or staff member, you often just want to download a document or find a phone number or name. If you're giving people this information quickly, their time on your site is not going to increase, which is technically a good thing if we want them to stay productive in whatever work they are doing outside of the search and outside of the site. So once again, this is one of the metrics that I think needs to be taken with a grain of salt. And the way you actually solve this is with audiences. So you set up different audiences, which could be your prospective versus current students versus staff. And then you track how each audience is behaving to understand how your search is performing. Now I want to talk about goal value. This is our final metric. Imagine for a moment that you've been tasked with increasing student acquisition, and you've decided that site search is one of those untapped sources of potential conversions. But with every search query, there are multiple potential sites which you could use to promote to the top of the search results page. And each of these pages have a different call to action. You might know which call to action has the highest conversion to lead rate, but which of these conversion points ultimately leads to more students. And this is actually worth the most in real terms. And if you get this wrong, you could drive a lot of on-site conversions, but not get as many actual students to enroll in your university. And this is one of the problems which goal value can solve. Goal value is a dollar amount in Google Analytics associated with an action completed by a user on your website. It is very useful in determining whether or not the search or website changes that you're making are improving or worsening the financial performance of your site. But in our experience, it's one of the most underused metrics, and there are a few catches with it, which we'll walk through right now. So to illustrate its value, let's say that you want to track three or four of the most important actions that users could take on your website. One might be a click to apply, which would be an external link to an application website. It might be a request for a campus tour, which might be a form submission, or requesting for information, another form submission, or something else such as signing up for an open day. Crudely put, let's assume that this student is worth $1,000. If someone who clicks the click to apply has a 75% chance of converting to actually becoming a student, then the goal value is 75% of 1,000, so that's $750. If someone fills out the campus tour form, has a 50% chance of converting to a full student, then their goal value is 50% of 1,000, there is $500. And so on. You can complete this for those actions that you know are most important for your organization. But that leads us to an important question. How do you get started with goal value? In short, you follow 5 steps. First, you monetize key conversion steps. If you know both the average net value from a student and the average yield, which is the percentage of people who go from converting at that particular step to actually paying their tuition fees, then you can calculate the value of each lead from each conversion point. This amount can then be added to the configuration of Google Analytics goals, which is known as goal values. And if you know neither the average net revenue nor the average yield, then you need to work on that first before you continue on. So step 2 is to assign dollar values to conversions in Google Analytics. And then step 3, count those conversions. So work with your development team to establish how you can track these leads and then configure Google Analytics to count it as a goal. And there's a tip to be aware of cross-domain sessions. That's very important. Step 4, with your goals set up and monetized in Google Analytics, you can then start to segment your data to report on specific behaviors. Viewing embedded YouTube videos, clicking on banner images, downloading documents, viewing campaign landing pages. These are all behaviors that can be tracked by creating custom segments within Google Analytics. These segments are easy to create, but key to their successful use is to set them at the user level, which brings us to the third part of our technique, which is using the right metrics. And then step 5 is to analyze and report. Once your goals are tracked and monetized and you've created custom segments for the behaviors you want to track, you need to create reports to see and share your insights. For powerful flexibility with reporting, try Google Data Studio. It's a free product that connects with various data sources, including Google Analytics. And one more thing I actually want to note about this is that when sharing data with decision makers, it's useful to create a combo chart showing per user goal value as bars and total goal value as a line chart. This helps to quickly, it's a really nice visual to help quickly focus on where the value is being generated. Once you have the data generating reports, you'll need to spend some time analyzing all these details, right? So there will be some easy wins on the surface, like when you have things which are driving the greatest amount of goal value, you want to keep doing these things and do them better. And you'll also find wins where you have both moderately high per user goal value and overall goal value, and a combination producing both potential and value for you and your organization. And site search strongly fits this pattern in our example. So how does this interact with the search? A really good way to explain this is to look at one of our customers, British Columbia Institute of Technology, BCIT in Canada. Alan Etkin is the senior analyst of web analytics at BCIT, and they're a Squiz client using Funnelback as their search. They use goal values extensively, and he noticed something really interesting in his data. They put Funnelback in and noticed that with Funnelback, more people were converting on their site. In fact, over the first 6 months using Funnelback, site search users had a per user goal value of approximately 5 times the site average. So it was $23 for non-search users and $114 for site search users. That's a really big difference. Another way to think about it, they put Funnelback in, and then people who are using site search were converting at a much higher rate than non-search users. So obviously BCIT would want people using site search more. But they were going through a website redesign later on, and a designer favored a cleaner, minimalist design, which put the search right at the top right-hand corner, and then it removed the search bar. So all users knew where to find the search was just with a very small magnifying glass. Now, the use of search then plummeted downwards because people couldn't see the site search easily. So they browsed instead, and this was a catastrophe for them. And as a result, their site performance went down, fewer people converting, overall goal values just went way down. And here lies the value of site search. It helps you understand the value of the different decisions you make, both about the changes you make to search and the changes you make to your whole website design. So for example, is it worthwhile coaching the results for all of your most important keywords? Maybe, maybe not. Do it for a couple months and then let the data speak for itself. So that's everything I wanted to cover today. What can you do next? So you can go through the self-scoring checklist, which we will send out to you shortly after this webinar, and you can see how you compare. If you find that you're not getting as much insight into your site search performance as you could be, then you should set up the site search metrics, which you're missing. And in that checklist, we have provided a bundle of links to the appropriate documentation in Google Analytics to support you, so you can quickly set it up. And if you're wanting to get goal values set up specifically, then you need to read our customer BCIT Alan Edkins guide to measuring your digital investments. It's a high-level overview on how to get started implementing your goal value. So that's on our website under our resources for ebooks. And what I've got here next is just a little view of what the scorecard looks like, just to give you an idea of some of the scores you can give yourself and walk through later on today when you get that card. And these are just some of the links of the resources that we'll provide. Thank you everyone for joining.